Ndị be anyị ekeneni m unu n'ụbọchị nke taa. Anyị sị na ya dịrị ndị Igbo na mma. Dịka o si dị, ihe a bụ Igbo Media ka anyị si wee na-ewetara unu ya bụ nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa gbasịta maka ana Igbo and Igbo community and ihe debe na Nigeria. Ya bụ ife ka anyị na-ewetara unu na Igbo Media. Dịka isi wee na-esole anyị, ọ bụ na nke a bụ ụbọchị izizi gị ị na-abịa n'ilu akwụkwọ na Igbo Media. Kabaru ka subscribe and turn on your notification ka ị miss any of our updates dịka anyị na-etikwu ya n'iru akwụkwọ kwa mgbe. Dịka o si dị, o nwere ya wetara n'ụbọchị nke taa gbasịta maka ka ya bụ ife si ada and gbasịta maka ka ya bụ ife si akpọtụ n'ala Igbo. Biko mma achọ ka ige ya bụ ife. Ihe a bụ Biafran Prime Minister Maazị Simon Ekpa. O nwere ife okwu n'iru akwụkwọ mma achọkwa unu ga-esi ya bụ ife ọ na-adọrọpụrụ anyị ifu nche n'iru akwụkwọ gbasịta maka ihe ndị a niile okwu. Alright, over to you, sir.
It's our imagination how people's lives can be devalued this much in one's native country. In contrast, there has never been military invasion of communities in northern Nigeria, just as there are rarely communal clashes in the north, unlike the south. Because of Nigeria government's divide and rule strategy in the south, several communities are separated from historical alliances and forced into new ones, often with poorly defined boundaries. Such machinations by the Nigeria government have been responsible for the spate of boundary-inspired communal clashes in Biafra land, which is relatively absent in the north. The United States of Biafra will reunite communities along natural and historical boundaries and bring an end to boundary disputes. Aside from killings directly conducted by Nigeria government, various Fulani-affiliated terrorist groups such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, Fulani herdsmen, in their desire to displace indigenous people and take over their lands, are invading communities and slaughtering them in a scale never seen before. For example, many Fulani installed kings and political appointees forcefully seize indigenous people's lands and transfer the lands to Fulanis. The Oba of Benin is reported to have sold in 3 years 1,200 acres of land to Aligoke Dangote, and Dangote trucks are used to ship in Fulani terrorists into these lands, from where the Fulanis operate and unleash terror in the neighboring communities and the entire coastal region, especially in Ekpa State, former Delta State, where the kidnappers in Ekpa land come from Benin, former Edo State. The Fulani terrorists and kidnappers in Awo, in Abovo County, reportedly will make you cook for them, cook for the terrorists, and have you watch them rape your wife in order to spare your life. And you have to pay 5 million naira for them to release your wife to you. Furthermore, kidnapping and rape by Fulani herdsmen in several communities in Delta State like Ibide and Avre in Isoko have been reported. Such attacks have contributed to farmers not being able to access their net lands, resulting in widespread hunger and poverty. Repeated attacks by Fulani terrorists and killer herdsmen in 2001, 2010, and 2023, and early part of 2024 in Uweru Kingdom in Urobo Isoko led to over 300 persons losing their lives. In the eastern flank of the United States of Biafra, Fulani terrorists are operating unchallenged as they have established terrorist cells at Obanliku, Obudu, Bumaji, Ogoja, Akampa, Mbak, which they renamed Nasarawa, Bogobri, where they sell human parts of those they killed, particularly those that are unable to pay ransoms. Often the military is accused of complicity or in the minimum unwilling to prevent or stop these atrocities from happening. It was on the account of this that General T.Y. Danjuma famously said that the military colludes with the invading terrorists, and that if we wait for the military to protect us, we would all die. And he consequently asked indigenous people to explore opportunities for self-defense. And that's what we are doing. We are not committing terrorism. Rather, we are defending ourselves against terrorism. And nnamdi Kanu is not inciting violence and is not committing terrorism. Rather, he was sensitizing his people against terrorist threats. In the same vein, our Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, is not committing terrorism. Rather, he is defending his people against terrorism. I stand here to say that all over the world, killing people is called homicide, and it's a crime. But
with fake restructuring and state creation will not work. You all remember, we've been asking for restructuring for ages, and Nigeria have refused. Now that our PM has risen up, they now want regional government. Not for us anymore. None of these ploys will bring back the thousands of Biafrans the Nigeria state have killed just for carrying flags or on mere suspicion of being an indigenous people of Biafra membership. Just for being an IGBO, just for being a Biafran. Nigeria murders our people in the thousands. Many families have been rendered childless, motherless, and or fatherless by the Nigeria state. Many people have had their homes and businesses burnt or destroyed by Nigeria state. Many more people have died as a result of secondary effects of the pain and suffering we have had to endure in the hands of the Nigerian state. My fellow Biafrans, as I look back over 3 years since the abduction and extraordinary rendition of our leader, nnamdi Kanu, MNK, and the severe suffering this act brought onto our people, I am saddened by the extreme cruelty the Nigerian state has unleashed on our people. We have endured a lot and stand to endure even more, underscoring our resolve to attain our inalienable God-given right to existence, freedom, pursuit of happiness, and livelihood. Biafrans are begging to live. We are begging to live. Not anymore. Not anymore. The Nigerian state has been anything but an impediment to all these ideals. Hence our resolve to exit the enclave that has never been more urgent than now. I salute the courage of Biafrans in the homeland who have borne the brunt of Nigeria's state-sponsored cruelty, particularly those that have paid the ultimate price and their families. To the Biafrans in diaspora, I cannot thank you enough for standing up for your compatriots and being a source of hope for the defenseless people in the homeland who are victims in many respects, including loss of our collective wealth to a select privileged few who then turn around and denigrate the people as miscreants. This sorry state of the enclave is the primary inspiration for MK's fight for the freedom for our people, on realization that a fix within the current enclave and its institutions is impossible. In this regard, we initiated a self-referendum voting for our people to decide whether or not they support Biafra independence from Nigeria. This voting process started on February 1st, 2024, and ran through November 28, 2024. The voting just ended, the referendum. The full results will be out in the next 2-3 weeks to the world. The participation was massive, with approximately 50 million votes cast. The results of the self-referendum will be released later in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Once again, I welcome you to the most beautiful and most hospitable city, Lahti, Finland. Thank you so much.
Biafrans, thank you very much for your presence here. I want to recognize our leader, nnamdi Kanu. I want also to recognize our Prime Minister, His Excellency Simon Ekpa. They have given our people hope. They saw the tribulations our people are passing through, and they have done the needful. We are fortunate to have a prophet in the name of nnamdi Kanu, who everybody testifies that everything he had prophesied had happened. In the same or comparable capacity, our Prime Minister has promised a lot of things, and pretty much everything he has promised, he has delivered, including this day. The Declaration Committee met severally and documented all our grievances, and I have their mandate to read them today for you, for everyone present here to endorse. So without wasting your time, this is the Declaration of Restoration of Independent United States of Biafra. Today is November 29th, 2024, here in Lahti, Finland. We, the officials of Biafra Republic government in exile, Biafra de facto government in the homeland, and the delegates from across the world representing the constituent states of the United States of Biafra, who collectively and individually advocate for self-preservation of our people in the face of unrivaled genocidal onslaught by Nigeria government against our people in Nigeria and the 40 states of the United States of Biafra, have gathered here in Lahti, Finland, this day, November 29, 2024, to make the following declarations. Whereas we have endured political marginalization, economic deprivation, periodic massacre of Biafra people within Biafra land and across Nigeria since the 1914 amalgamation and creation of Nigeria. Whereas we have endured all this in hope that one day things would be better. Even the initial declaration of an independent state of Biafra and the 13-month civil war in which more than 5 million of our compatriots perished was not enough to steer Nigeria towards that elusive, inclusive, and prosperous future. Rather, despite its false claim of no victor, no vanquished, and false promises of the triple R, which refers to reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction, the Nigeria government constantly pursued a winner-takes-it-all policy discernibly reflective of a master-slave relationship. We have endured all this with so much reluctance to complain. We have resorted to self-help and strived to provide for ourselves basic necessities of life that ordinarily governments across the world provide for their citizens. We have carried on in the face of unimaginable hardship until our very existence became threatened beyond human tolerance limits. In 1999, we started nonviolent agitation with flags. Instead of sending negotiators to address our agitation, the Nigeria government resorted to systematic killings of our people, aiming to exterminate all the agitators and killing tens of thousands of Biafrans in the process, and harvesting the organs of thousands of those they abducted. Nigeria government intensified its widespread massacre of Biafra people under the Fulani-controlled government of Muhammadu Buhari in 2015, and has continued since then. Our leader, nnamdi Kanu, escaped assassination when Nigeria military invaded his home on September 17, 2017, an invasion that left 28 other Biafrans dead. 3 years later, Nigeria went as far as abducting our leader, nnamdi Kanu, in Kenya and renditioning him to Nigeria in June 2021, and has detained him in solitary confinement for more than 3 years now, despite 2 Nigeria court judgments and a United Nations work group on arbitrary detention mandating his release with compensation. These ongoing brutalities against our people serve as frequent reminder that the war that supposedly ended in 1970 never really ended. In response to the various shades of existential threats Nigeria is presenting to the people of Biafra, and out of the natural law of self-defense and consistent with the United Nations and African Union charters on people's right to self-defense, we started carrying arms officially in 2022. Now, therefore, to protect ourselves from government-sponsored violence, we have reached an incontrovertible conclusion that self-determination and self-governance are the only viable permanent solutions against ongoing violence orchestrated by the Nigeria state against the indigenous people of Biafra, and both give us state power to protect ourselves from external aggression, such as invasion by Fulanis from other countries, which Nigeria is not preventing but facilitating. On the basis of these and many more grievances listed hereunder, and knowing fully well that we are a group of people confronting several extenuating circumstances that collectively make our people an endangered species, and knowing fully well that the only means for our collective survival is self-preservation and self-determination, we are taking these steps to declare the restoration of the independence of the United States of Biafra, also known as the Confederating States of Biafra. Before independence in 1960, population distribution in Nigeria conformed to global trends, in which population centers are in lower elevation regions with better climate and easy access to water, food, and shelter. In 1960, Nigeria was comprised of 3 supposedly equal regions: North with 14 provinces, East with 12 provinces, and West with 9 provinces. This meant that the North had 14 provinces, while the South had 21 provinces. However, after independence, and with political power in the hands of unscrupulous elements from the North, the geopolitical distortion began in the most senseless manners. Nigeria became a country where human settlements violated laws of nature, with outrageous claims that more people live in the hot, arid North than the mild coastal South. Gradual and arbitrary creation of states by mainly military leaders from the North over the years resulted in the North today having 19 states and 414 local government areas, while the South has 17 states and 355 local government areas. This distortion in the geopolitical structure of Nigeria has been used to politically and economically marginalize the people of Biafra. Because the number of states and local governments are directly used for political representation and revenue allocation to the disadvantage of the South, even though as much as 90% of the resources sustaining Nigeria come from oil and gas resources in Biafra land. Distortions in geopolitical structure, resource control, religious incompatibility, and a larger ambition by the Fulani oligarchy to make Nigeria a Fulani country are at the core of instability and insecurity in Nigeria. And all avenues by indigenous people to seek redress have been met with brute force. Such brute force has resulted in military invasion of numerous communities in Biafra land and indiscriminate killings of people in those communities at genocidal scale. For example, Section 1 of the Biafra Declaration Handbook captures several of the Nigeria government-sponsored killings in the hinterland of the United States of Biafra, also called the Southeast, as well as the South-South. Notably, Ezu River massacre under Governor Peter Obi, Onisha Mpo massacre under Governor Obiano, Ogbaru massacres under Governor Soludo, Obigbo massacre under Governor Wike, Ohafia and Aba massacres, including 150 youths praying at Ngwa High School, and another hundreds of innocent Biafrans on a parade in Aba, as well as the invasion of nnamdi Kanu's home that left at least 28 people dead under Governor Ekpa. Also, widespread Ebonyi massacres under Governor Umahi, widespread Enugu massacres under Governor Ugwuanyi, widespread Imo massacres, including repeated invasions of Izombe, Olo, Osu, under Governor Zodimma. Nigeria terrorist forces also unleashed mayhem and killed hundreds of Biafrans who were celebrating in Port Harcourt Donald Trump's victory in the 2016 US presidential election. In all days, tens of thousands of Biafrans have been killed. But the coastal regions of Biafra have also not been spared in these killings, and more than 4,000 people were killed between 1999 and 2024. In particular, Ode massacre in 1999, Kwale massacres in 1999, and ongoing Ozoro Ole massacres 1999, 2003, Uweru massacres 2021 to 2023, Okuama massacre 2024, Olodiama massacre 2024, and not to forget one of the worst recorded massacres in human history in Asaba, 1967-70. Also, the eastern flank of Biafra, covering former Cross River and Akwa Ibom states, has its record of Nigeria government-sponsored killings, including in 2021 when Nigeria military invaded the following communities with substantial loss of lives: Afahat, Ekot Apan, Okan, Owa, Ekot Afanga, Ntok Nsek, Ekot Upon Eto, Ekot Otu, Ekot Obok, Ntak Ekot Akan, and some other communities. Since after the 2021 invasion, the military has maintained presence there and are frequently abducting people, killing them, harvesting their organs, snatching people's wives, and raping our women. They maintain checkpoints where travelers must disembark from their vehicles with arms raised while passing the checkpoint on foot. This pattern of military and police intimidation is commonplace in the whole of Biafra land. It beats our imagination how people's lives can be devalued this much in one's native country. In contrast, there has never been military invasion of communities in northern Nigeria, just as there are rarely communal clashes in the north, unlike the south. Because of Nigeria government's divide and rule strategy in the south, several communities are separated from historical alliances and forced into new ones, often with poorly defined boundaries. Such machinations by the Nigeria government have been responsible for the spate of boundary-inspired communal clashes in Biafra land, which is relatively absent in the north. The United States of Biafra will reunite communities along natural and historical boundaries and bring an end to boundary disputes. Aside from killings directly conducted by Nigeria government, various Fulani-affiliated terrorist groups such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, Fulani herdsmen, in their desire to displace indigenous people and take over their lands, are invading communities and slaughtering them in a scale never seen before. For example, many Fulani installed kings and political appointees forcefully seize indigenous people's lands and transfer the lands to Fulanese. The Oba of Benin is reported to have sold in 3 years 1,200 acres of land to Aligoke Dangote, and Dangote trucks are used to ship in Fulani terrorists into these lands, from where the Fulanis operate and unleash terror in the neighboring communities and the entire coastal region, especially in Ekpa State, former Delta State, where the kidnappers in Ekpa land come from Benin, former Edo State. The Fulani terrorists and kidnappers in Awo, in Abovo County, reportedly will make you cook for them, cook for the terrorists, and have you watch them rape your wife in order to spare your life.
And by Ekenekwen Mono, Kunishinesela na Igbo media, boy by si wotero na yabo osi dio Ekpa, Master maka ya brief Biafran Prime Minister kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị uhuruchi nke taa. Ekefi were ikwu gbasata maka ya bụ ife ndị a niile okwu gasị dị iche iche dropụrụ anyị ife iche n'elu akwụkwọ na comment section na Igbo media. Ndị be asị na n'Igbo ya adị na ya dị ka echi ada agwọ ọgwụ. Ise. Thank you and God bless you.